This is my second session with Castor in his new pasture. So we're going to work on some hindquarter yielding and just him facing up and letting me touch him and him targeting me. So you can see in this video, it's going to be very similar to the last one, but I want you to pay attention to his body language, his overall demeanor. It's much, much better. So he's settled in and he's a lot more relaxed and confident. He doesn't seem quite as conflicted. Like right here, he comes to me on his own. I really like that. That was very nice. I probably should have just marked and clicked or marked and fed that because that's exactly what I was looking for. It's completely different from last time's video where he was backing up and he was leaving and he wasn't real sure. I probably shouldn't have gone this far and kept petting him there because he starts to lean back. I should have just marked earlier and worked up to that, like I said in the last video. But just watching him, his overall demeanor is really important. Like when he comes up out of the bowl here, like he takes a step toward me. I should have again just clicked for that and rewarded that instead of coming in there. And I walked up a little quickly as well, but he did pretty well. He's staying pretty composed. He doesn't have that stance where he's leaning back, ready to leave at any point. He looks a lot more relaxed. So and again, where he lifts his head up and then he takes that step toward me. That was good. But then see how I came up to him too fast? So I should have just clicked him coming to me. I want that to be his choice. I want him to be rewarded for it. I should have done that. And then I should have done letting me approach him and then him targeting me and then me petting him. So that should have been the correct order of it. But this is an experiment I was learning, and it's just going to be helpful if other people can kind of learn something from it. But he is allowing me to pet him. Definitely not as tense either, so there is progress, even though it wasn't perfect. So we are getting somewhere. And it was a little bit more windier that day. Again, I like how he came out of the bowl, and the same thing as last time. Like he came, toward me, was nice and relaxed with his head and neck, came toward me, and then I think I approached him too quickly. But he stayed well. He's probably leaning a little over with his neck, but overall, better signs than last time. So let him eat that. Again, I like that. So see here where I get about halfway, he starts raising his head and leaning it kind of over to his right here. I should have stopped there and then released, went back. Or before I got to that point where I'm coming and he's staying relaxed, clicked and rewarded for that. And I could have probably done that by using two buckets. So I could have, instead of coming up to him, I could put the food in the other bucket, let him go up to that bucket, and then move to this bucket so that he's not getting afraid of me approaching just to give him a reward. That time I was working on a bit of hindquarter yield, and you can see in this beginning part, he doesn't understand. He's really choppy and stiff with his steps and his body language. And then as we go, he's like, okay, I get this. He's a lot more relaxed. He doesn't move nearly as much and he just kind of goes about it. And it's pretty cool to watch. This was pretty good. I do like how he's taking those steps up after I leave and kind of following me a little bit. It's definitely the opposite of last time. He's a bit more curious for sure. So here he's not sure. And I'm looking for that hind leg that's closest to me right there. And I'm clicking that and then I'm going ahead and putting the food in. He doesn't understand now. That's why he's kind of leaning. He's looking at me. He doesn't really get what it is that I want. And that's fine in the beginning. It's just not fine forever. You want to make sure that you're transitioning as you're training, you're looking for different things to change and making sure that he's becoming more relaxed as you go. It's not staying the same. So again, I should have slowed down on the petting. You can see he's just tilting his head away to his right. And as soon as I go, he comes back. So again, better. So see, again, he's like, not so sure. Shouldn't have gone through with petting here. But overall, not too bad. He just had some leftover food in his bowl so that he could eat too. So again, it's me because he's not just looking at something, he's turning his head away to the left there instead of the right. So he's just turning it away from me. So that's something to pay attention to when you're working with your horse. I'm asking him to go away. He's not really sure. Then I'm going to reward that. So it's not perfect, but I'm going to tell him that was what I wanted. He wasn't sure. He didn't want to leave the bowl. And then he also wanted to do what I wanted and move over because I was putting in that little bit of pressure on him. And then I probably would have just trained that with a target instead. I think it created a little bit more confusion than anything, but that was what I did at the time. So he's kind of confused between Should I come over here? Should I go to the bucket? Should I back up? He's just not sure on what he should do. There we go. So he took that step over with that hind leg that's closest to me over the outside hind leg, and I'll reward him for that. Because I'd rather him follow a target. Like I could have had my short crop and him just follow it kind of in that same arc, and then when he steps over across, click and treat. That would have been a lot easier to do, I think, and less confusing. That was decent. Um, Same with this. He's moving his head up, but he's not super, super tense there. He's really getting that hindquarter yield. That looks much, much better. So he really starts to figure out what it is that I want now. And then after this, I think he was a lot more relaxed in doing that. I am going in here more with the thought of, okay, I need to move him, I need to get him out of my space, do things like that, which are important. But I think that could have been figured out better by the protective contact, which I do go back to later on. This looks pretty good. He's a little tense. I'd like his head lower, but overall not bad. That looks good. He didn't cross over, but he took a nice step over and didn't leave. So I guess for this section, I do like how the bucket's helping him step over versus go forward or go backward because it kind of anchors him there and it encourages him to cross over versus do those other behaviors. So there I was just kind of putting my head up over his pole to get prepared for that haltering again. I was really focused on the haltering at this point, or in the beginning, basically, with both of the Mustangs, more so than I should have been. But that's just what I'm doing here. And he's a little tight and tense in his neck and it's up, but much better overall than the last lesson. So I'll give him a little jackpot here.